he looks down and he says, who is on the bottom? Oh, of course, the first 10 were obvious ones. Iraq and Pakistan and Afghanistan. And he said, I'm not going to go there. But maybe there is something closer. He was in Europe at that time. Suddenly finds out a country called Moldova. He says, where is Moldova? So he opens it up. He says, yeah, there is a country in Europe, apparently, right next to Romania. And I never knew about this, he says. Apparently, it's one of the most depressing countries. Let me go to Moldova. And so he spends 3 weeks in Moldova. That's why I was speaking about this around my daughter's bat mitzvah, because my entire family was here. I thought it would be funny for them to hear an American boy going to Moldova and spending 3 weeks there. And one of the highlights of the entire chapter there, he says, you know, even the name of the country says something. He says, you know, when you hear Jamaica, you want to jump and dance. Jamaica! But Moldova sounds like, how do you feel today? I don't know, I feel like Moldova. Anyway, guess what? I just got his next book in the mail. Just came out, and it's called, that one is called The Geography of Bliss, this one is called The Geography of Genius. And he asks another interesting question. What is it that makes a particular place and a particular time a fountain, a source of a lot of ingenuity and innovation and so on? Why Silicon Valley? Why Firenze? Florence, right? Why America in 1776, 1772, 1780? How is it possible that suddenly, out of nowhere, in one place at the same time, we have like 7 geniuses? I'm talking about Hamilton and Washington and Jefferson and Madison. What is it? How is it possible? What is it? So he travels around the world. I cannot wait to read this book because he writes with sense of humor. He's brilliant, and so anyway, I just wanted to share with you. A search for the world's most creative places from ancient Athens to Silicon Valley. Best-selling author of The Geography of Bliss, Eric Weiner. Anyway, that's the book. All right, I want us to continue with chapter 9, but I want you to focus on one word as we're reading. I would like, Eric, we missed you. I know you have a strong voice, so you're going to read for us. But think about this. We're coming to the end of this book. The most important question that the Kohelet is asking, Ecclesiastes is asking, is, what are we here for? What's the secret to happiness? What's the meaning of all of this? And so he touched upon many things. He touched upon, give me some examples. What did he try? What did he try to become happy? Any topics we covered in the last 3 years? Money, wealth, he tried that. God, not important. What else did he try? Many sex basically, a lot of women. And he has a famous line there. Worse, but before that, you're right. But before that, worse than death is a woman. It's one of the most famous lines. People who don't know much about Ecclesiastes, for some reason they remember that line. A lot of cynics, a lot of comedians use that line. There is nothing worse. Basically, he says, a woman is worse than death. And we spoke about this. And remember, one of the answers is, why did he feel this way? One of the answers is because he had 700 wives and 300 concubines. By the way, there is one more announcement. Rick, Aaron, one of our new members, and his wife Gigi were chairs of a beautiful event Sunday night at Mar-a-Lago. 600 people showed up there, and it was a Magen David Adom. It was a beautiful event, and one of our own people, Sydney, donated totally new ambulance to the state of Israel, state of the art. It's a beautiful organization that saves people's lives. And blood is the source. So Yashikov to Rick and Yashikov to Sydney. This is wonderful. It's hard to say no to blood. And as you see, every time there are sirens, we see who is running there, who is running into the fire. It's the people from Magen David Adom. Anyway, so we spoke about wealth. He tried. He tried sex, women. Did not work out. He tried immortality, building buildings and palaces and this and monuments. He says nothing. He tried even wisdom. He says, remember the famous line about wisdom? The more wisdom, the more pain. Who needs it, he says. It's easier to be stupid. You know, just go through life. Don't ask too many deep questions and so on. Yes or no? We had a whole conversation about this. Yeah, you can choose. Go to the other side if you want easy. Don't ask too many questions. He tried, he became the most famous person in the world. So he tried fame. Does not help. He tried power. He was successful. Wars and so on. Did not help. So there is one more topic. There are many others. We still have, I think, 3 or 4. But there is a major one that we have not spoken about. Which one? Yes?
I don't know if this is the major one.
Give me one word.
Toil.
What?
He speaks about toil.
Toil, labor. He tried that, but even that, he says, yeah, you build a factory and then you die, and your son will just waste it all. Even that is ridiculous. Why do we work so hard? Love. All you need is love. What about love? He never speaks about love. Until now. Let's begin. Chapter 9, we read half of it, even more than half. We read 2/3, but I want you to see how many times he mentions love. It's amazing that until now he never talked about love. So Eric, we will go through, only we'll stop when he mentions love. And that's what I want to talk about. So the topic today is not wealth, is not any of that, but all you need is love. Is it true? Is it true? Maybe the Beatles had it. By the way, the Beatles were forbidden in Cuba. So some of you probably have seen the picture. I think we have it on Facebook. So I'm sitting next to John Lennon. There is a park in Havana called the John Lennon Park. They feel sorry. They feel guilty, so they created a whole park for him. Anyway, for the Beatles. Now, the Beatles were forbidden to us also. So we secretly would meet and listen to the old tape recorders. Remember those huge ones? And I remember as a kid, I couldn't understand. Is he an anti-Semite or something? Why do they say, hey Jew? I couldn't understand. Why is he talking about Jews? Anyway. But of course, back in the USSR was the worst. Anyway, let's continue. Let's go. Chapter 9. Everybody's with us? I want you to find the word love as much as possible. See every time he mentions it. And then we'll talk about love. What does he mean by that? And so on. And what is love? A good question. Chaim Nachman Bialik, the most famous poet of the Jewish people, asks a simple question. Who can define love? It's a good question. What's the definition?
Best feeling.
Everybody, the best feeling in the world. Yeah, that's... Yeah, you know, some people say you cannot describe it. You know when it's there, right? Okay, so let's begin. Yeah, let's go. Eric, go ahead.
All this I noted, I ascertained all this, that the actions of even the righteous and the wise are determined by God. Even love.
So love is in the hands of God? So what if God does not give you that talent? Is it a talent? Is it a gift? Does God give it to you? Are some people incapable of loving?
Yes.
Okay, so there are interesting, yeah, you say so. Okay, do we have a talent? Are some people more capable of more loving or deeper loving? Or, you understand, already he's throwing a very scary thought here. So is it innate? Is it inherited? Is it in the genes? You do not get the gene from your parents, so you will never experience love. It's up to God. Well, he says it's God. Let's continue.
Even hate.
Even hate. It's Basher that I will hate. What does it mean? It's in God. It's determined. There are some people who will be hateful. And it's interesting. We know some people like that. And it's not connected really to the reality. Right? We've spoken about that one. That it's the attitude. Terrible things can happen to a human being, and he's smiling. Another person has it all and walks around like this. Verbissen is the best word. There is no word like this. There is no word in English. Those of you who don't know this word, I don't know how to translate this, right? It's more, as usual. Rich, it's much richer. Hebrew is richer. Let's continue.
Man knows none of these in advance. None.
You don't even know what will happen. You may fall in love in 3 minutes from now. Or you may start hating somebody this afternoon. And it's Basher. You have no idea what will happen. Even emotions we're not in control of. Continue, please.
For the same fate is in store for all, for the righteous and for the wicked, for the good and pure, and for the impure, for him who sacrifices, and for him who does not, for him who is pleasing, and for him who is displeasing, and for him who swears, and for him who shuns oaths.
So what he's doing is he goes one step further. He says, you don't even know if God loves you. You are righteous or not righteous. You sacrifice or don't sacrifice. You take an oath, you commit your life to something bigger, and somebody says, forget it, who cares? And you're not assured that God actually loves you. That's a scary thought too. Continue.
That is the sad thing about all that goes on under the sun. That the same fate is in store for all.
We spoke about that. No justice, right? Remember, we forgot another big topic. We spent 2 sessions. Is there such a thing as justice? He's obsessed with that. There is no justice, he says. Not up there and not down here. Definitely not down here, because you'll see. What does he think about human nature? Remember, he says, who writes the laws? And how do they write those laws? Continue, please.
Not only that, but men's hearts are full of sadness.
Well, in the original is maleh ra.
Evil.
It's bad things. Remember what Genesis tells us? The inclination of a human's heart is ra from childhood. Hopefully we get better as we grow older, not the other way around. This is upside down from what liberalism taught in the 18th, 19th century. Romantic philosophies, if you go to college, they will say human nature is wonderful, so why do we have evil in the world? And you've heard all these theories. It's chauvinism, racism, capitalism, government, you name it. White males. What's the famous thing about 10 years ago in colleges? They began to say, why do we read Shakespeare? We should read only, black writers and so on. Please turn off the phones again. I'm sure you all are familiar. You know what's going on with the Oscars this Sunday. That there is a whole protest going on, a protest movement that not one black actor or actress were nominated. So what does it mean? What does it mean? Should we now say, okay, we want to make sure that there are 2 Hispanics and 3 Jews and 5 blacks? Is that what we want? Do you see what's going on? We used to be called meritocracy. You get what you deserve. I saw on the news last night something very sad. This hero came back from 2 wars, was sitting in a coffee shop, and 3 big guys come over to him, black guys, and start pushing him. Do you believe that black lives matter? And he wanted to avoid them. He didn't want to get involved. They followed him afterward, beat him almost to death. Politically correct. Okay, let's continue. Now you understand why Donald Trump is so successful. People are furious. People cannot deal with this anymore. I think we went too far. Let's continue.
And their minds of madness while they live, and then they're the death.
Okay, so there is no fairness, and then you die. Okay.
For he who is reckoned among the living has something to look forward to. Even a live dog is better than a dead lion.
Now this is a very famous line. And many commentators and philosophers quote this line. Because the meaning, the impression out there is, if you go out there tonight to dinner, and you say, oh, I've been taking this class on Ecclesiastes. If people know a little bit about the Bible, they will say, Ecclesiastes? He says that life has no meaning, it's all vain. He's a pessimist. I told you, even my dear friend, Rabbi Joseph Telushkin, says, I don't know why you teach this book. He's a little bit a downer. I don't believe this. And many people quote this line. He just told you that life is not fair, and then you die, and yet he says, but life is better than anything else. And by the way, dog and lion, in the ancient world, in ancient literature, they're always the opposites. The dog is the lowest. You remember David and Goliath? Goliath looks at him and he says, what? You're fighting me like as if I'm a dog. It's like the lowest. Horrible insult. You're like a dog. Lion is the highest. What is he saying? Even a cockroach alive, for us it would be cockroach probably. Even a cockroach alive is better than a lion that is, a corpse. So is he a pessimist? Pessimist says, you know what? It's better not to live. Life is terrible and then you die. So he's not, I don't believe this. And many philosophers say he's not a pessimist. He is not an optimist. He says an optimist is somebody who is wearing glasses, does not want to see reality. He is a realist. I think that's the fairest way to say it. He says the way it is. He says life is tough. And then, yes, we all die. No question about this. And our last topic will be, can reality of death be the best teacher in life? The Denial of Death, one of the most powerful books of the 20th century. If you accept the fact that you are here for a short time, that's what he's trying to say. He does not say vanity. Remember, we spoke 2 sessions at the very beginning that the translations are terrible. It's not vanity, all is vanity. What's the better translation? Give me a better idea what he's talking about. The famous chapter, the very first one. What is instead of vanity? Hevel, we spoke about this. It's futile, it flows away, disappears. We are ephemeral. We're here, it's so quick. I read somewhere a great line. They say that the moment before you die, your entire life flashes in front of you. He says, yeah, that's the definition of life. Basically, yeah, it's all quick. We're here, fleeting, that's the word. Life, everything is fleeting, nothing is permanent. That's what he is trying to say. He is not pessimistic. He's telling you, wake up. We spoke about this, the expression in English, I had 2 hours to kill. Horrible line. 2 hours of your life, you want to kill them? How do you know? Maybe those are the two last hours in your life, and so on. Anyway, so let's continue. A dog is alive, I still prefer, to a lion, the king, who is dead. Continue, please.
Since the living know they will die.
At least I know something. There is something to look forward to. Maybe it's not so bad. The knowledge of death. Continue.
But the dead know nothing.
Yeah. So what's the advantage of being dead? You know nothing. Yeah. Maybe it's a long night of sleep. I read somewhere else a very interesting line. What do we enjoy more? Falling asleep or waking up in the morning? Really? How many of you wake up in the morning and, yeah!
I say a prayer, thank you.
Falling asleep, I think, if you're honest, is much more pleasurable. I can rest. I can enjoy myself. I'll watch 25 movies in my mind. I mean, dreaming alone. People live for that. I mean, I know some people who have a very rich life at night, just dreaming. Again, that's a gift, by the way. Not everybody dreams. I know what the scientists are saying, but I very rarely dream. I mean, I probably do, but I don't remember it. You don't either. How many of you don't dream? You don't remember any of it? Okay, quite a few. Quite a few of us. And yet there are people who, how many of you wake up in the morning and you remember at least one dream that you dreamed?
Not every day.
Okay, not every day. So we have almost the same amount of people who are either dreaming or not dreaming. Anyway, but the point here is, some philosopher says, think about this. We enjoy going to sleep much more than we enjoy waking up in the morning.
I thank God.
We wake up, okay, you're lucky. But most people say, leave me alone. That alarm clock, I cannot stand you. How many people need 5 alarm clocks? Even iPhone came up with the concept of snooze, right? You push another button. No, before that, but even the technology of today, he says, you know what? We need that button. Nobody likes to wake up. Give me another 5 minutes. How many children enjoy waking up? Oh, come on, do I have to wake up? And children are more honest than we are. So if you're confused, look at the children, you'll see. So why do we like to fall asleep more than we like to wake up? That's right. That's right. You have to face life. Life is not all fun. But how much is it good? That's the question, and he speaks about this also. Every philosopher asks this question. How much of life is good, and how much of life is loss and pain and disappointment and frustration? Each one of you, I'm not going to ask this question, but each one of us, if we are honest, and that's the purpose of this class, let's be honest, we will agree that the vast majority of humanity has much more worse than good. In Palm Beach, the vast majority, all of us in this room have much more worse, much more pain than we have pleasure, and so on. Okay, so you know what? You're lucky.
The attitude is very important. Absolutely. Not every day is always perfect. Does that mean that he's depressed?
Almost perfect. Okay. Well, you're lucky. I don't want to go into different moments, but you look at the world. You drive around the streets, and if you say that you are more happy than unhappy, something is wrong. Either you're wearing glasses, or you don't want to turn on the news, or you don't want to see the suffering. And I'm not talking about only. You're lucky if in your personal life you never had a loss. I don't know one person who does not have it. But what about next door? What about your brother, your sister, your child? Raising children. Everything. Life is not fun, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, it is interesting. It's possible that in this room, the percentages will switch, because all studies have shown that people, at least in America, I think in the advanced world, developed world, grow happier with age and not the other way around. Do you know that? People who are 75 years old, on average, are almost twice as happy as people at 40. It's amazing. A lot of people say, oh, I want to be young. Young are not happy, ladies and gentlemen. The young are not happy. And that's the point, a whole life of pain. That's the point. I don't want to go to be personal, but I think you know that this is not objective what you're saying. I mean, anyway, I don't want to get into details, but the point is that happiness grows with age. And there are many explanations and interpretations. You can guess. One of them is that you don't have to deal with the babies and the kids and so on. You kind of feel less involved, because all studies show happiness goes down when you have children. Happiness, the best thing who gives you the most happiness in life? Children. Who gives you the most pain in life? Children, okay? So, it's hard to be objective. Anyway, but these are studies. These are studies. I'm talking about scientific research shows that the older we are, the older our kids perhaps are, the more we are detached, the more time we have to take classes and enjoy life and play golf. When you were 40 years old, I suspect most of you at 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning did not sit in class thinking, what's the meaning of all of this? You were running, you were busy, you had so much to do. One child is sick, the other, your husband is upset, this one lost a job, your sister is calling you, your father says, I am not, you can just, the point is that maybe we're blocking it as we grow older. Maybe, a lot of people say, the good old days. Remember, he had half of the chapter devoted to them. Don't fool yourselves, he says. The good old days were not so good. I don't envy children. I don't envy teenagers. Who commits more suicide in America? 80-year-olds or 15-year-olds? Quickly. So don't you see? The young have it better? It's painful to be young. We don't remember that. But God forbid what's happening. And I'm not even talking about all the mental sicknesses, the girls who are killing themselves by not anorexia and bulimia and all of this stuff. Anyway.
Service has a tremendous problem with suicide.
Jewish family service?
Service.
Oh, the army. That's another issue. What they see in life. When you see a human being in front of you and you have to shoot them, you think you can live happily for the rest of your life? Think about all the Israeli kids who have to go to the army. At the age of 19, you see a kid in front of you, and you have a split second to decide to kill or to be killed. So let's try to be objective and realistic. Anyway, let's continue. I want to talk about love today. We'll talk about that. A lot of people will say, the best feeling in life? Really? Really? Every drama, every piece of poetry where I cannot live without you, I'm gonna kill myself. This is not the best feeling in life, right? Continue, please. Let's go.
But the dead know nothing. They have no more recompense, for even the memory of them has died.
We spoke about that. Nobody remembers great-grandparents. Continue.
Their love
Loves. Even they loved. They hoped. They had struggles. They had dreams. Even that is gone. Second time he mentions the word. Continue.
Their hate, their jealousies have long since perished, and they have no more share till the end of time in all that goes on under the sun.
So those who are dead, nobody remembers them, nobody remembers who they were, we cannot even know what they went through, right? So what's the solution? Continue.
Go, eat your bread in gladness, and drink your wine in joy, for your action was long ago approved by God.
God. This is not hedonism. Remember? In the previous chapter we spoke about have fun. No. He goes deeper now. He says if you develop trust in God, if you're spiritual, then you will be able to truly enjoy life. What he's saying is without God, it's hard. I tried everything. That's basically, he's coming to the end of the book. He says, I tried everything. If you don't have spirituality, if you live just in the material world, counting your check accounts and bank accounts and your businesses and this and that, he says you will not be totally fulfilled. You will not be happy. But God approves it. God wants you to be happy. That's what he's saying. Continue.
Let your clothes always be freshly washed, and your head never lack ointment.
This is fascinating. For us, oil on your head is a kind of like a yucky thing, right? But this is considered the highest pleasure, the highest honor. This is how you anoint the king. So oil is sign of pleasure and luxury and so on. But it's interesting. What do you think about this white clothes? What is he talking about? Why is he talking about white clothes? He just mentioned God, enjoy life, and then the next line is we're on the next page. The next page begins with the word washed. Are you with us? Okay. Why is he talking about white clothes be washed? What?
No white.
What? Why? What's the point? What? Purity. He basically says, you know what? Don't become ascetic. You know, we spoke about asceticism. You know, my body means nothing. No. Enjoy.